So out of the box or out of the wall, whatever you want to call it, you already know what it is. The Quiet Place Part 2. So if you watch my first review of the first one, not the one that's Part 1, but not really Part 1, I haven't seen Part 2 just of where I was at in 2021. And now I can finally watch this Adobe Vision, Adobe Atmos before day one, which is coming out on a Thursday. So I'll be watching day one when this is released. Or, the video is out there. Come on, Chase. Don't be an idiot like some of these kids. Chase Liak here at the Blue Futon reviewing A Quiet Place Part 2. What's about? Pretty simple premise. This is right after the first one. I mean, you get no ifs, ands, or buts. The family is off. But they go into this new territory, and oh my god, they gotta run. But you know what? They find Cillian Murphy, and they're like, wait a minute, do we know this cat? And we do, because how this movie actually starts up is bringing John Krasinski back, and how day one was in this New York town, which is actually filmed in Akron, Ohio. But anyway, that's no ifs, ands, or buts. But you know what? You get to figure out what happened now in day one, and now back to like day 479 or something. And this is, like I said, you find out who Cillian Murphy is, and what he's been doing this whole time, what his family's been doing this whole time, how he's been staying alive, and what is this song in the background. So I like this film. It's another solid entry into this franchise. Is it a step below the first one? Sure. Not because of the monsters or things that happen in this movie. I just think because some of the choices, again, just really bother me. Where everything that's going on with some of these kids, you'd expect them to be like, let me just listen. Let me just, everything that's been going on, let's listen to my mother. And no one listens to the damn mother. Listen to Emily freaking Blunt, god damn it. But no, seriously. The overall atmosphere is still there. Where it goes is interesting because it doesn't really focus on the family now because they kind of split up. It's Cillian Murphy and the deaf girl, as well as now it's the baby, Emily Blunt, and the middle child. I'm going to say it's the middle boy, Noah Jupe. And so we're focused on two different plot points and what they're going to do, because the first one is basically Emily Blunt needs to find more oxygen for the baby to stay alive. And the other one is the deaf girl who really wants to figure out where this beyond the sea is, because she has a map and she realizes, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure this equals an island. So that's where that is. And I do enjoy the Cillian Murphy storyline as well as, the oxygen storyline, even though I feel like the oxygen storyline is a little more conventional. And I wouldn't say stupid, that's not the right word, but just the Noah Jupe character, it's like, bro, you've been just making some stupid decisions left and right. It is time to just think before you act. That's all I'm going to say on that part. Kind of with the other one, because this girl is willing to just do what she's willing to do without thinking of other people, and you think that's kind of a bummer. There is a good plot point in this movie where they're at a train station, and you're thinking, oh shit, but it goes pretty good, and there's something at a dock. You're like, okay, that's pretty good as well. Again, when you think about action and actual horror elements, it feels like the first one is a little bit more action-packed, and the second one was more of I don't know. It's actually very interesting even though they're both survivor horror, I felt like the first one had more horror action elements, while the second one was more of a character study of what people are doing and what are people willing to do to survive. Because I do feel like the island part, when you get to the last 15-20 minutes of this film, kind of feels disjointed. I don't know if disjointed is the right word when I talk about it. I just think it felt more, I don't know. It wasn't fleshed out as well as it could have been, and that's a bummer because it really proves okay, so it's been 400-esque days, and there hasn't been another single boat that tries to go there or a monster that can't swim, because I could have sworn the monsters could at least swim a little bit, because in the first one, you saw it in the basement where the monster would go slowly into the water and you didn't know where the monster was going to come from. So I'm just thinking, okay, so none of these creatures decided to go in the water because the water is noisy. So you would think there'd be more creatures in the water to go to this island, or just in general, are these creatures going to destroy all the fish in the ocean? Because you would think, okay, if these orcas or sharks are just fucking making so many splash noises, You would think a monster would go into the ocean. You would see more people dead there. Whatever, it is what it is. Also, just how these people survived on the water, which kind of makes sense when you get to the dock scene. But then at the same time, you're just thinking, what are these? Well, it's like a post-apocalyptic, kind of Walking Dead style of people. They're just dicks, and I understand that. But it felt a little bit cheap on that level. Atmosphere is still 100% there. It was not a soundstage movie, and that's why I liked about this as well as the first one. There's no soundstage in sight. They are literally in Buffalo, New York, Akron, Ohio, doing all these stunts and doing what they can on camera. The monsters are more fleshed out. There's more of them. You get more of, better CGI because the budget is better for this one. I actually don't think this one got nominated for an Oscar, which kind of makes sense because watching them back to back, the first one, the sound design did sound a hell of a lot better, which is very interesting because you would think that they would try to do the same thing, but they decided not to. But let me triple check real quick if the second one was nominated for an Oscar. So it wasn't. It was nominated for a BAFTA. And I think the BAFTA was actually for Emily Blunt, not sound design. But I could be completely wrong while that's coming up. Yeah, it was. No, that's not. Oh, BAFTA was sound. Okay, so I lied. It was a Saturn that was for Emily Blunt. I think she also got, that was for Mary Poppins. Never mind. But no, I think the sound design kind of makes sense for the first one. Just felt a lot better, maybe because it was more contained in the house setting. And the second one was more of an open world style movie, which is fine. But I did feel like, sometimes bringing it into the bigger world picture can work on some levels, but sometimes you still want to keep it contained. If you ever watched that South Korean show, Sweet Home, that's where it faltered because it went too big world. But I don't think Day One will do such a bad job with it because instead of continuing on, you're starting the Day One of big ass city and wondering how people will figure out to be quiet or not. So overall, A Quiet Place Part 2, the atmosphere is still there. The acting is still fantastic. The sound design is still pretty good. I do wish it just focused more on the family sticking together, which is fine, or the island at the very end. It felt like it was a little forced, or not even forced, it was rushed, and I wish it really fleshed that part out just a little bit more. So A Quiet Place Part 2 will receive a 4 out of 5 with Futons, which equals that 80%. So let's see the critics and user scores gave this one. So this one's interesting. The audience score, a 92% with 5,000 of them. So the audience liked this one better. Critics found it a little worse, but still a 91, so that's pretty damn good with 369. Critic consensus. A nerve-wracking continuation of its predecessor, A Quiet Place Part 2 expands the terrifying world of the franchise without losing track of its heart. So there you go. It is what it is. Chase Leoc here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One more things, Bhutontopia. You Bhuftonians, take watch a great day. And I care watch State tomorrow, week from month, or a year from every single freaking one of you. What do you think Day One will be? I think it might be. I think it will be solid. The trailers have been good. I think it's going to do good in the box office. However, the way Inside Out 2 did, I thought Quiet Place could knock Inside Out 2 out. I don't think so anymore. I don't think so.